opinyon ng pag-uulat ng mag-uulat sa programang ito ay hindi ang pangunahing posisyon o pahayag ng pamumunuan ng organisasyong ito. The views and opinions expressed in this live report are those of the presenter and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the management of this organization. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Inclusive Report. Today is Thursday, March 3, 2022. I am your host, Carlos Miguel Kanahashi, and together with me is our technical supervisor, Sir Mark Paulo Betita. And we're broadcasting simultaneously on InkluRadio Facebook page and to be premiered on the next day on the Hands in Inclusion Philippines YouTube channel. We shall commence our presentation in just a moment, and we will be back after our commercials. Now this.
para sa aking pamilya, para sa aking kapwa, at para sa bayan. Kahit mahirap, kahit masakit, mahal ko kayong lahat. Kahit anong mangyari, ikaw, ako, tayo. Ating isisigaw sa mundo. Inklusibong may tatak, angat buhay, itatahak. Matapang pa rin tayo. Ang tropa, hindi nang iiwan. Ang senyas, isang instrumento. Ilang beses matumba, tayo huling bababa. Luman ang ating pinagaling. Tayo ay muling luluwa. Para sa pangarap, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan. Tayo ang ilang. Tuloy ang inclusion.
Okay. Welcome back to the Inclusive Report episode for this day. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we will discuss to you about inclusion. So, when we say inclusion, what does this mean? What is the essence of inclusion? What inclusion looks like in different environments? How can we promote inclusive societies in our sectors? And what can we do to promote inclusion in our country and in our civilized society? So, without further ado, here now is our topic, what is inclusion? Sir Mark, share screen please. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay na. Okay, so let's begin our topic, ladies and gentlemen. So, let us define what inclusion is. So, what is inclusion, ladies and gentlemen? Next slide, please. What is inclusion? Ladies and gentlemen, the definition of inclusion is that inclusion refers to the act or practice of including and accommodating people who have historically been excluded because of their race, gender, sexuality, or ability. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, inclusion means everyone. Everyone is included, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of who we are and the way we were. Next slide, please. What is the essence of inclusion? Inclusion aims to include everyone, regardless of their abilities, their race, language, religion, and disability, and also to include everyone, regardless of who we are and the way we were. Next slide, please. Let me tell you a difference between diversity and inclusion. Despite often being used interchangeably, diversity and inclusion are different. Why? I'll explain this to you one by one. When we say diversity, this is focused on representation. In layman's term, diversity, ladies and gentlemen, is the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders. And also to combine our differences that shape our views of the world, our perspective, and our approach. In the case of inclusion, as I said earlier, inclusion is to be practices tend to be more about how to help groups feel as if they belong. In other words, inclusion means for all. It is done regardless of who you are and the way we were, ladies and gentlemen. Next slide, please. So, what inclusion looks like in all the different environments in per each sectors. The practice of inclusivity can look different in various settings, which let us discover on how we can promote and foster inclusion in all the different sectors. Next slide, please. In the workplace, ladies and gentlemen. In the 2014 book, ladies and gentlemen, entitled Diversity at Work, Bernardo Ferdman and Barbara Dean describe the practice of inclusion as key to investing diversity at work. They have engaged in education, writing, and speaking on diversity and inclusion, especially as it pertains to leadership within organizations. Advocacy groups are helping promote the rights of persons with autism and their families, but their benefits continue to expand as nonprofit organizations are now pushing for career placement for them. Republic Act 10524, or the Act expanding the positions reserved for persons with disabilities, states that no person with disability shall be denied access to opportunities for suitable employment, according to Section 5 of that said law, or equal opportunity for employment. To promote inclusion in the workplace, we have two organizations. The most pioneer here in the Philippines is Autism Society Philippines because they started the Career Placement Initiative to build an inclusive OK Philippines. And the purpose of this group is to create genuine employment opportunities in compassionate workplaces. Project Inclusion Network. This is under Unilab Foundation, which is a non-government organization that also organizes career opportunities, placement, and training for persons with disabilities, including those in the spectrum. And according to inclusivity in the workplace, ladies and gentlemen, research shows that there can be business benefits to hiring persons with disabilities and employees with persons with autism. People in the spectrum often demonstrate trustworthiness, strong memories, reliability, adherence to the rules, and attention to detail. They're often good at coding, a skill that it is in high demand. So, in inclusive training, employees on the spectrum means providing training to support their skills and training for the organization to create an inclusive culture. For managers and co-workers, awareness training can help them understand their colleagues and how to support them. Supervisors especially should receive training on effective communication strategies. For employees on the spectrum, on-the-job training or OJT training for communication and other interpersonal skills is vital. And behavioral training strategies such as rewards and modeling can be especially successful with employees with autism spectrum disorder. Next slide, please. Inclusive in the educational sector. According to a journal that was written in 2019, a discussion of inclusion in the English language teaching with the recognition that it is not a new practice but asserts that it may require more transformational approaches than earlier small-scale challenges to or changes rather to strategies in education. In layman's term, it can be helpful to understand how educational systems were designed with the needs of the dominant groups in mind, so they may need to be revolutionized. It means thinking critically about the ways in which learning spaces may fail to the needs of the people who are BIPOC, the LGBTQ community, and the list goes on. Next slide, please. In the 2020 book, Organizing Inclusion, Moving Diversity from Demographics to Communication Processes, Dortmund and Gibbs named the institutional biases of white supremacy, sexism, settler colonialism, homophobia, and the list goes on, which have been contributed to inequitable outcomes within groups, organizations, and the society itself. In doing so, they made the case for why organizations must communicate differently if they are invested in inclusion efforts given how much of the status quo poses barriers. In their work, these authors encourage communication that identifies the forces of oppression that can be insidious and require targeted efforts to combat. Next slide, please. According to a 2015 journal based on a couple of focus groups with 17 older adults, both the challenges and the benefits of digital technology for seniors were explored alongside its policy implications. It demonstrated how some individuals who were once included required additional outreach efforts to ensure accessibility, as all seniors do not necessarily learn how to make use of technology advances. In this way, it is easy to see how a group may require additional considerations to maintain inclusion as they age while technology evolves beyond their typical use. So, going back, ladies and gentlemen, about inclusive education. Ladies and gentlemen, inclusive education is a learning environment where children with and without disabilities are taught together as equals. Why? Because in the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, according to the Magna Carta for Persons with Disabilities, it mandates the state to ensure that PWDs have access to quality education. And that's why in Benil, they have the Center for Inclusive Education. The Center for Inclusive Education is founded in 2015 under the Office of the President to address the goal of creating an inclusive community in De La Salle College of St. Benil. And we commit to the vision of a Benilde for all by working with the Benildian community and being of service to its members as they reach their full potential in order to build a just and a humane society. Next slide, please. Active inclusion. Based in the 2019 journal article, it encouraged all organizations to start asking the right questions if invested in getting meaningful responses to drive active inclusion forward, with understanding that BIPOC and the LGBTQ community have often been left out of such discussions. The article argues that inclusion efforts are unlikely to succeed unless they are enforced from the top of the organization all the way through. Next slide, please. So when it comes to inclusion work, they do not yet know what they do not know. It's common for everyone who come from backgrounds or of privilege to have a limited understanding of the ways in which systems that may have been worked effectively for them that have actually been rigged against communities that are disabled, undocumented, and the list goes on. Next slide, please. So, what are the ways and how can you promote inclusion in our society? Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself which marginalized group may not feel welcome in a space and make an effort to change that. Identify the barriers to inclusion to those in leadership positions when it is safe to do so to address them. Assess how much privilege you have and how much space you hold and amplify more oppressed voices. Next slide, please. As you have probably gathered, it will be impossible to explain all that inclusion is in one article. But hopefully, these insights have helped to inform the understanding of this practice as well as the need for it. Every setting you encounter may be one in which you have an opportunity to promote inclusion. If you have the capacity to do so, that could benefit the lives of everyone who may not otherwise have access to those spaces. In order to promote inclusion, we need to make sure that we need to focus more on PWD inclusion. Dapat hindi dapat nakikisawsaw sa politika. The second thing is that join organizations that promote inclusion and also to for have companies have the right to employ persons with disabilities in the workplace. I have a question. Sir Mark, tanong ko sa iyo. How can we promote inclusion?
Dapat po lagi pong lagi po natin itong pinag-uusapan. Lagi pong pinopromote. Kagaya po ng ginagawa natin ngayon dito sa sa show po natin.
At dapat kailangan iwasan din natin yung mga biases, 'di ba? Para lalo na sa mga PWD orgs. Iwasan din natin ang mga partisan politics sa mga organizations, 'di ba, that promote inclusion. Dapat we need to continue to act as a neutral person. 'Di ba? That's absolutely right. That's why we need to promote inclusion by joining groups that advocate persons with disabilities and in an inclusive society. Dapat hindi we should in promoting inclusion, PWD organizations should promote inclusion. PWD organizations should refrain from endorsing any political candidate during activities in all PWD organizations. At hanggat maaari, hindi dapat nakikisawsaw sa politika. At dapat maging neutral tayo para ma-promote ang ating inklusibo sa ating komunidad at para ma-advocate sa mga taong may kapansanan dito sa ating bansa. And that concludes our topic. Let us have our next part of the show is our election 2022 updates. Here now is our election 2022 updates, ladies and gentlemen. Wait lang for the updates. Okay? Okay, so COMELEC to candidates. Expect a fair debate format. The Commission on Elections on Wednesday said it will ensure that the presidential and vice presidential debates will be fair and will be able to help voters know their candidates more. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez said the full body was finalizing the format of the debate. As far as we're concerned, our goal is to present the format to the candidates and to show them that it will be a fair candidate. Our primary goal is that when we present the format to the candidates understand what is expected of them, what they can and cannot do within the framework of the debate, and the assurance from COMELEC that the debate will treat them fairly. He also said that the questions will focus mainly on their platforms. I think our focus will be more on platform questions. What are the plans that you're going to do? And we're going to interrogate those plans. We're going to make sure that we should understand what they're talking about and what they have the plans to do. Jimenez said that the COMELEC has a journalist in mind to moderate the debate. We're looking at the journalist to host this, simply because as a journalist, they are experienced in conducting interviews, and we believe that the journalist will have the necessary experience to really riff on the question so that it doesn't become a mechanical random of question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that the discussion will be lively, and we believe a journalist is best suited for that. According to Jimenez, the candidates can be rest assured that the moderator will treat them fairly. Ultimately, the moderator shouldn't be an issue because the moderator, of course, being that this will be a common debate, will be bound to the strictest rule of impartiality and objectivity. So I think the candidates can rest assured that the moderator, whoever that turns out to be, will be treating them fairly. The debate should last out for 2 hours, with each candidate having a minute and a half to speak. COMELEC announced that the first presidential debate for the election 2022 is scheduled on March 19. 10 presidential candidates will attend, but Bongbong Marcos later is set to be decided. So that concludes our election 2022 updates. Next slide, please. So let's have our next part of the show, Sino Ka? Know your candidates in the Know your candidates in the 2022 elections. Next slide, please. Our featured candidate for the day is Risa Hontiveros. She will be running for senator this year. She's the current senator of the Philippines since 2016. She's a former member of the House of Representatives for Akbayan. But before she entered politics, she used to be part of Repertory Philippines at the age of 14 in The Sound of Music in her childhood era. She's the former news anchor in GMA and IBC. She is a graduate of Ateneo de Manila University, wherein she studied Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Sciences. And let's vote for her in the elections, and let's vote wisely this May. Next slide, please. Let us move on to our next part of the show, which is our announcements. Next slide, please. As part of our continuing efforts to support our organization, we urge everyone to purchase our products in the HNI Inclusion Pilipinas online shop. So the products that we are selling are One Inclusion Nation t-shirts, One Inclusion Nation tote bags. For the One Inclusion Nation tote bags is available in red, black, blue, white, and yellow. All sizes were 275 pesos, For the Talano Gold Colored One Inclusion Nation t-shirts, sizes are ranged between small to XL and prices are ranged between 325 to 350 pesos. So how can you order there? Well, first of all, we'll be very strict on payments. Payment first before purchase. I repeat, payment first before purchase. We're accepting payments from GCash and we will deliver your ordered products via the GoGo Express and LBC couriers. Next slide, please. So, the Hands on Inclusion Philippines online shop is temporarily closed for areas under Alert Level 5, but it will continue to serve in areas under Alert Level 1 to 2 only. Its operating hours are from 12 midnight to 11:59 in the evening. For a full list of orders, please visit the Hansen Inclusion Philippines Facebook page or email us at hansen.inclusion@gmail.com. Next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, as part of our continuing efforts to support our organization, we at Hansen Inclusion Philippines needs your help. To be honest, ladies and gentlemen, many of us have already been struggling with our financial problems in our organization. Sa totoo lang, marami kami nakakaproblema sa ating mga pinansyal sa ating organisasyon. So regardless, no matter what, it doesn't really matter if the amount is smaller or larger. It would be appreciated for you guys to do this as early as now. Scan and donate using GCash on this QR code that is flashed on your screen. Also, for the donations through the Barya para sa Inclusion Fundraising Project, use a coin bank or an alcansya. Put any amount in the coin bank and also do deposit using Union Bank as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are you waiting for? Please, please, please lang. Please continue to help Hands in Inclusion Philippines for its fundraising project. You will see this one of the QR codes for GCash and Union Bank on the Hands in Inclusion Philippines Facebook and Instagram pages. Please help Hands in Inclusion Philippines for its fundraising project. We're aiming to raise funds in our organization. Let us have the time to rebuild in order for us to have a bigger, better, and a bolder Hands in Inclusion Philippines. Magtulungan na lang tayo para sa ating fundraising project. Kailangan natin ito para masiayos ang ating organisasyon. So, the proceeds and the sales of the online shop and for your donations will go to us here in Hands in Inclusion, especially for the formality, for the expenses, and the financial aid of the members due to the effect of this COVID-19 pandemic. So guys, for those who did this, you be glad you did, and thank you for your continuous generosity and for your support to our organization in advance. Before we go on to the next slide, if you want to buy things like these ones, as you can see here, is Lady Jane accessories. Or if you want to buy some bracelets, then you may message Miss Lady Jane Florese on her Facebook page, Lady L Jane Accessories on Facebook, or you may contact her through WhatsApp 0916-167-4803, or you may contact her at 0951-791-3194. Next slide, please. So if you have any problems with your computer, Sir Mark, kung may mga problema sa computer, sa laptop, sa desktop, kung basta ang tatak ay Apple or Windows, kung may mga problema sa mga tablets or sa mga phones, basta Android or iOS, or Sir Mark, tanggap ba kayo mga download ng movies, music, at games? Sir Mark? Accepted ba? And we're accepting also downloads as well for movies, music, or games. Then you may message Sir Mark Betita on Mark PC Laptop Repair Services. You may Message him on Facebook, Mark Paolo Betita. You may contact him at 0947-355-4759. And he'll be happy to assist you with all your troubleshootings with your computer, your cell phone, or your tablets. And he'll be also, if you want to download music, movies, or games, he'll be happy to assist you as well. Next slide, please. We have some events coming up for the month of March in Best Buddies Philippines. On March 5 is Colorful Friendship Cupcakes. March 12, Perfect Friendship Pins. March 14 to 17, Spread the Word Inclusion with the Guild of Thomasians Educators and Special Olympics Philippines. We'll be having the Best Buddies Philippines Ambassador Training with Nexus and Asurion. March 16, Wellness Wednesday with Coach Pepper and BeFit Active Buddies. March 19, Beloved Friendship Bracelets. March 21 to 25, Inclusion Week with Best Buddies Benilde. And March 26, Jolly Friendship Jams. So if you want to join these events, follow Best Buddies Philippines on Facebook and Instagram. Send them a message and they will send you the registration form and the link as well. The Best Buddies Philippines Charity Series and Wellness Wednesday will be broadcast on the Best Buddies Philippines Facebook page. So, in Best Buddies Philippines, make a friend, be a friend. Next slide, please. So, we urge everyone to continue supporting for our project Sold Out. We'd like to thank Special Achievers, Hiraya Gallery, and the partner organizations for making this event possible. If you want to continue supporting that project, please search Special Achievers Facebook page as well. And you may check those as well. Next slide, please. If you are feeling hungry, especially for your breakfast, for your lunch, for your dinner, for your merienda, or any occasion, birthdays, or any parties, then you may order some of the foods from the Sobra Comfort Food Restaurant and the Kuya Korea Restaurant. For the Sobra Comfort Food Restaurant, ladies and gentlemen, the menus are for our all-day breakfast, tapa sobra, chicken tocino, corned beef brisket, and homemade spam and beef salpicao. Sizes are ranged between solo to large and prices are ranged between 265 pesos to 1,450 pesos. Next slide, please. For our rice trays, we have beef bulgogi, beef shawarma, beef gyudon, pork crackling bits, pork medibird ends, charred chicken, and boneless fried chicken. Sizes are ranged between solo to large and prices are ranged between 265 pesos to 1,700 pesos. Next slide, please. For our sandwiches, we have the fried chicken sandwiches, food pro sandwich, corned beef sandwich, and chicken tocino sandwich. Sizes are ranged between regular, large, solo, and box of fours, and prices are ranged between 320 pesos to 1,540 pesos. Next slide, please. For our pasta, we have mac and cheese and penne and gorgonzola. Sizes are ranged between solo to large, and prices are ranged between 290 pesos to 1,350 pesos. Next slide, please. So if you want to order from the Sobra Comfort Food Restaurant, head over to the Sobra Comfort Food website, select the dishes you want to order, choose between pick up or delivery, pay conveniently through any of the same integrated payment methods, and your order is confirmed. Expect updates via text or your email. Next slide, please. If you want to crave for something Korean, then you may want to order some of the foods from the Sobra Comfort Food Restaurant and also for the Kuya Korea Restaurant. Rather, for the Kuya Korea Restaurant, ladies and gentlemen, the menus are for the rice bowls, beef bibimbap, beef bulgogi, pork samgyup, and K-pop chicken. Prices are ranged between 195 to 220 pesos. For the chicken, for the boneless popcorn chicken, sizes are ranged between half to whole and prices are ranged between 235 to 435 pesos with the flavors of gochuk, ganjang, chicken, and K-buffalo. If you want to order there, please check the Kuya Korea website for your orders as well. Next slide, please. Lastly, follow Hands in Inclusion Philippines on our social media pages and its digital platforms as well. It will be appreciated for you guys to do this as early as now. Follow us on Facebook, Hands in Inclusion PH, InkluRadyo, InkluSports, InkluNihan, and the online shop. Instagram, Hands in Inclusion PH. Twitter, HNI Philippines. Kumu, HNI Philippines. And subscribe to the Hands in Inclusion Philippines YouTube channel. So guys, for those who did this, thank you very much as well. Next slide, please. Now is the time for our greetings to Lady Jane Florese. Good evening to you and thank you for watching. To our birthday celebrants, we'd like to greet happy birthday to Isaiah Fernandez and Jessica Malca. And also to those who are celebrating their birthdays today, happy birthday as well. To those who are celebrating their anniversaries, happy anniversary as well. For me, shout outs and greetings to my family, to Hands in Inclusion Philippines, Best Buddies Philippines, Best Buddies Benilde, and other PWD organizations, and also to my high school and college friends. And also to those who are watching, it may be a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you guys are in a good mood, but if not, you may use this time to improve on your mental health and your well-being as well. To those who are watching us on InkluRadyo, thank you very much as well. If you missed this episode, it will be premiered on the next day on the Hands in Inclusion Philippines YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. Next slide, please. Let us have our quote for the day. Next slide, please. From Nelly Borrero. We want a culture that is inclusive of everyone and where everyone who joins feels they have opportunities to succeed and grow. Okay? So that's why we urge everyone and also to promote PWD organizations in our country in order for us to build a just and a humane society. Okay, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Sir Mark, open cam please on StreamYard. Okay, that's a wrap for the Inclusive Report for Thursday, March 3, 2022. I'll be back again over the weekend for the One Inclusion Live Weekend. Magpayo tayo ka inclusion and our special report Sunday. On behalf of InkluRadyo and Hands in Inclusion Philippines, I am your host, Carlos Miguel Kanahashi, and together with me is Sir Mark Betita as my technical assistant for the day. May awa ang Diyos, makakaraos po tayo, sama-sama tayong lalaban para sa pangarap, pamilya at bayan hanggang sa ating tatak para sa One Inclusion Nation. Uli, magandang gabi at pagpalain nawa tayo ng Diyos ng buong may kapal. May the mighty God bless us all. Ngayong ikalima ng anibersaryo na Hands in Inclusion Philippines. Makatotohanang inklusyon, angat buhay ang solusyon. Sa HNI, posible. Pilipinas, God first. Sir Mark, all together, your mic please. HNI, God first. Thank you very much for watching the Inclusive Report. Have a blessed evening to all and a goodbye for now. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sir Mark. See you. God bless.